Welcome, folks. You know what? Let me be one of the first right now to wish you, your family, your friends a happy new year. May this be a magical year to you all. All right, folks, now let's get to business as usual. Our New York Mets, the team that most of us love, let's put it that way, are in the process of building a team that I feel is going to be a World Series contender. All right. A World Series contender. But we have some missing pieces. Pete Alonso. Will the Polar Bear be back? Will the Mets pivot? Guerrero. Is Vladimir Guerrero? Is he an option? Anthony Santander. Is he an option? A slugger who, as of late, the last couple of years, he's coming on. He has been getting better and better. Alex Bregman. That rumored New York Mets have been linked to Alex Bregman for quite some time now. And you see the numbers on Alex Bregman throughout the last couple of weeks have been kind of going down in terms of years. So does that get into a range where the New York Mets cannot simply pass up? Wow, folks, there's a lot out there. But folks, what I'm hearing today, and a lot of rumors have transpired throughout the last couple of days, and it's really tough to know what's right, what's basically BS. But that's where we have each other. We can think stuff out together. So Scott Boras right now, is he in a pickle? Is he panicked? Are things going awry for Scott Boras? The guy 20 years ago who was ahead of the entire industry, the guy who could always at crunch time get that monster contract for his client. Always, he was 10 steps ahead. But you know what, folks? It seems like in the last couple of years specifically, we saw it with the Boris 4 last year, and that was the debacle, folks. That was a debacle. This year was supposed to be his redemption year. Juan Soto, Boris, or any other agent could have gotten Juan Soto that mega contract. Anyone. There were five freaking teams betting over $700 million. It didn't matter who was negotiating for Mr. Juan Soto. Now, Juan Soto's on the New York Mets. Who do you couple that with? I feel the New York Mets have some big moves brewing. Is Pete Alonso one of them? Now, here has been the debate with amongst Met fans in the last couple of days. And I try to be a fair arbiter, but I'm leaning clearly in one direction. We've asked the question, have the Mets treated Pete Alonso fairly? That's the first question. Number two, has Pete Alonso in a way been a bit greedy? Number two. And number three here, uh, you know what? Let me address really kind of like, number one. There's a I would say a good portion of the fan base that's saying Pete Alonso should be treated better. And I really want to address that because it's very, very important. The thought process by those folks is you should pay Pete Alonso because he deserves it. He's a homegrown Met, and this is how you treat homegrown Mets. You take care of them when it's time to pay them. Well, folks, if that was the case, just think about it. When DeGrom was due another contract, you would have paid him. When Conforto hit the free agent market, you would have paid him. When Syndergaard got hurt and he came back, like I think he pitched one game, it was a good game at the end of the year, but the Mets had an opportunity to re-sign him. You would have paid him. All these guys you would have locked up long term because not only are fans clamoring for Pete Alonso to get that contract, but they're clamoring that Pete deserves a long-term contract. But what I'm trying to say by giving you these examples, I'm not trying to, poo-poo what you're saying, or I'm not trying to say, bad job. But I'm trying to say if you pay all your homegrown Mets that don't deserve, money, then when a Juan Soto or Vladimir Guerrero Jr., guys who do deserve money and that can be cornerstone players and high impact players. When those guys become available, you won't have the funds. And then, if you don't project these guys correctly, like if you think that Noah Syndergaard was worthy of a 6, 7 year contract, I mean, the guy's out of baseball right now. Your team will not be good. Walker Buehler, a guy who is a lifetime Dodger, thus far, if with that philosophy, the Dodgers should have signed him to a 5 or 6 year contract, even though he showed regression. That yeah, I mean, so you have to kind of alter that philosophy, and you really have to see what value does the player have on the field, off the field. Is there a return on investment? In the case of Otani, in the case of Juan Soto, your brand building around the internationally gets lifted. Obviously, we've sold a crap load of tickets, a record number of tickets in the last couple of weeks. Soto jersey sales will be through the roof, so merchandising will be uplifted. So the return on investment will be there. The value of a Juan Soto will be there. The return on investment on a Pete Alonso will be very, not be there. And the value on and off the field is very little. In fact, you've seen regression on the field. And it's no surprise that MLB has spoken. I mean, when you have an entire market saying the same thing, how could, you blame the Mets, who are the only team that has given this guy multiple contract offers, and they are still at this moment pursuing Mr. Pete Alonso. Okay, now I think a lot of the guilt presented at the Mets is because Scott Boras and his camp are frustrated. They are frustrated. And now we're going to address the question of the video. Is Scott Boras in a pickle right now? Is he in a pickle? John Heyman reports and says um, the Mets and Alonso need to make a deal happen sooner rather than later. John Heyman. And John Heyman has been linked very closely to Boras. So it has been speculated that getting this public push from John Heyman is a hint that Boras is under pressure. Thus, getting a respected columnist and insider such as Heyman to urge the Mets to get something done quickly feels like Boras and Alonso could, in theory, be panicking in this situation. Williams explained, so, I mean, that's pretty interesting because if you look at the series of events in the last couple days, about 5 days ago, you heard, maybe not, yeah, maybe about 4 or 5 days ago, you heard that Pete Alonso was offered that contract, 3 years, $90 million with an opt out after the first and second year. Then you heard about a day or two later, that contract was rejected by Scott Boras. Then a day after that, so about 2 days from today, you heard that, oh, the Giants are interested. Oh, you hear the Mariners are interested. I think I heard the Nationals up until they signed Josh Bell, but you heard a whole slew of teams interested. Now the latest thing is you hear that guys like John Heyman are urging the Mets to get things done sooner rather than later. So, I mean, let's play this. Scott Boras gets finally his offer from the New York Mets. Finally, they've been waiting for the New York Mets. Nobody else has expressed interest. The Mets say, here you go. Slide a paper over to Scott Boras. 3 years, $90 million, opt out after year one, opt out after year two. I mean, I don't know what Scott Boras and Pete Alonso were expecting from the New York Mets. Maybe, Pete, friends with Steve Cohen, had a good feeling. Maybe they thought it would be the first offer at least would be 125 over 4. I think that first deal, 3 year, $90 million, was a shocker. Was a shocker. And, this is where Scott Boras, he really deserves a lot of criticism here because number one, he underestimated, Pete Alonso's market. It's not there. It wasn't there. But now you're expecting the New York Mets to bail you out when there's nobody else to bid against. And the Mets are like, no, Scott Boras, here, Here's a fair offer, and it's a more than fair offer because, as we've already detailed in our analysis, $30 million would make Pete the highest paid first baseman in all of baseball. All of baseball. So, what we've learned from past Mets, I've already mentioned it, the Syndergaards, the DeGroms, and even if you go back, David Wright got that 7 or 8 year contract when he was 31. What we've learned is that long-term contracts are extremely risky. So them offering 3 years and over $100 million is insanely good. And as we've done more of our research, first basemen over 30 don't sign long-term contracts. And then when you look at all the other market options, and the latest one to go was Josh Bell, but we've seen a whole slew of options go. Another, Christian Walker, obviously that was detailed. Christian Walker, $20 million a year for 3 years. Teoscar Hernandez, $22 million a year for 3 years. These guys can be construed as better than Pete Alonso. So if Pete Alonso got that 3 year, $90 million, which is superior to both Teo and Christian Walker, you would think Boras and Pete, considering that he can opt out after next year, would say, you know what? This year's market, all right, that's a great deal. I mean, it's literally beating Christian Walker's deal by $30 million. Christian Walker's deal by $30 million, and they're both getting 3 years. I mean, the Mets made an insanely good offer. And, I know the counter argument is he's a homegrown Met. You got to take care of him. But I've just told you, if you take care of all these homegrown Mets, you're going to run your team into the ground. You don't. And I say this, I don't say this to be fresh. I don't say this to be rude. But if you run a team with your heart, you will be running your team out of business. And that's just how it works. We're not, the Mets want to create a family environment. I understand that. And that makes it sometimes very tough to say goodbye, or very tough to make these contract decisions. That's like one of the only downfalls with the family situation and the family atmosphere. Okay. So, another one, and just to get back on Alonso's market, and we still have much more to talk about in this video. And if you haven't got a chance to like and subscribe, I want to start making these videos very highly liked. If you haven't considered subscribing, subscribe. I'm trying to grow this channel. We're trying to grow this community. We just hit 2 years as a channel, so grow with us. The ride, the journey has just begun. The fun has just begun. Why not ride along? Because I know this is going to be a magical year. I cannot wait to break down first couple games, see Juan Soto. I mean, that is going to be insane. Okay, so the Giants, that was a team supposedly in on Pete Alonso. What I'm going to say to that is I want to see an offer. If an offer is not made, I don't care. You could say any team is interested. Remember, for the longest time, the Yankees are interested. For the longest time. It doesn't matter. The Mets made a fair offer. I need to hear another team make a fair offer. And for all the views who are saying the Mets should meet in the middle, Scott Boras wants $200 million. The Mets offered $90 million. There is no middle. There is no market. There is no market. There is no emphasis or no motivation for Scott Boras, for David Stearns to up this offer. It just doesn't work like that. It doesn't work. I mean, just because it's Pete, they may do something slight, but that would be. I mean, that's just not how business works. It's really not how business works. But okay, so let me talk about Roki Sasaki first, and then I want to jump back into some offensive options. All right, so there were some Roki Sasaki news, and Roki Sasaki, it is coming up. It is a couple weeks now, and we're gonna get a decision to where Roki Sasaki is going. And folks, I broke down a couple weeks ago, literally every pitch this kid has, how special this kid is. I mean, the kid has 3 great, above average pitches, fastball, splitter, slider. His fastball is graded 80, which is the highest you can grade a fastball. And the fastball isn't just a fastball. I mean, the kid throws 102 miles per hour, but it's got movement on it galore. It's got rise on the fastball. It is one of the nastiest fastballs in the world. In the world. His splitter is graded a plus plus pitch as well. It's graded as 70. 80 was elite. 70 is plus plus. I mean, his splitter has 10 inches of vertical drop. It is nasty as well. And then he's got a slider. I believe his slider was graded 60. But this kid right now, I mean, his tool set is very unique. He's got a very unique, his mental makeup is well beyond his years. He is not affected by pressure. That is why he would be a great fit for New York City. And I have it in my gut. I have it in my gut just like I did what with Juan Soto. And you could go back to my videos last year when the Yankees made the trade for Juan Soto. I said, you know what? Congratulations for Juan Soto. Congratulations. Enjoy him, but make sure you take care of him and don't run him into the ground because he will be a New York Met. Proceeded throughout the year to make those predictions, and I don't want to toot my own horn, but we made so many predictions that came true. So I don't know. I just have a feeling that the Mets right now are the place to be, the it team. I mean, if you are Roki Sasaki, right, and where are the top destinations? You got the Mets, you have the Yankees, you have obviously the Dodgers, you have the Padres, right? Now we're going to look at what um, Roki Sasaki wants, and then I'm going to get back to what I was saying. Okay, so Sasaki will likely be narrowing the field of suitors in the next couple days. Sometime between January 15th, the opening of the international signing period, and January 23rd, the dynamic right-hander will make a decision, and each New York team has made a very strong pitch. So, I mean, the 15th, so that's basically 15 days. So, in about 2.5 weeks, 2.5 to 3 weeks, we should have a decision. Very exciting, folks. Very exciting because if we can get a Sasaki, I mean, oh my God, I still expect us to make a trade, but if we can get a Sasaki at, it's going to be an insanely low price to couple that with Manaya, Sanga, Brandon Sproat. I've been mispronouncing that word, so I've been trying my best for, you know who you are. You know who you are. So, I mean, we're going to have a lot of good pitching. We're going to have some good pitching options, but if we got Sasaki, it would make it much more of a dynamic rotations. So, as I mentioned, Sasaki will be narrowing the field of suitor within the next couple of days, according to Joel Wolf, and he's been discussing this with his family. He's been discussing this with his family and his advisory team, whether or not he wants to visit one or two cities as he tries to finalize his decision. So he's basically going to be talking with his family, his advisory group. He may visit a couple cities. I suspect New York will be one of the cities he visits. Obviously, you have multiple teams in New York City. I suspect LA will be another city that he visits, but he might visit Chicago. We will have to see. We'll get you that update when he does make those trips. That'll give us a little more inkling into what he's thinking. But folks, in the last couple weeks, what Sasaki's looking for, and this is one of the funniest things, he has been harping on family. Family. And the source that I was looking at, okay, Sasaki wants to go to a very family-oriented organization and situation. And then I'm like, in the back of my head, Juan Soto kept going. Juan Soto, Mets. Juan Soto, Mets. And then you heard about how Juan Soto's mom was the one who made such a connection with Alex Cohen and Steve Cohen. And folks, that gets throughout MLB circles. It does. It really does. And, that's why I keep thinking in the back of my head, the Mets might be this year's it team where you have all these generational players flocking to. All right. So family is very, very important. Very, very important. So this is also another amazing fact. Speaking Monday night on the conference call, Joel Wolf said 20 of 30 Major League Baseball clubs expressed interest in Sasaki. 23. Honestly, in the back of my head, you're probably like, wow, 20 of 30 teams were interested. That is insane. What I'm thinking is, why the hell aren't all 30 teams interested? This guy is set to make little money. Unless they have no international money, some teams may not have any, but there should be no reason why every team isn't in, at least exploring, kicking the tires, doing their work. I mean, that would just be, just bad management. Okay. So, I mean, now all there's quotes. I mean, you got a quote from Yankees GM Brian Cashman saying earlier this month, "I'm just happy that we have the opportunity and the chance to potentially get one of the world's greatest pitchers." And then he goes on to say, "It wouldn't be nice to have Yankee Stadium be his home." Yeah, very nice, very nice. Okay, all right. So then Wolf goes, money is less of a factor, as Sasaki would be on a minor league deal and can only receive international bonus pool money to sign. The Mets and the Yankees are each roughly $6.2 million dollars, with the range from 5.1 to 7.5. There is a very unique process and a very unique player, Wolf said, adding that Sasaki is definitely driving the ship this entire process. So, I mean, you kind of like that, Wolf, the agent, making sure that he gives his client props like, all right, I'm doing work, but you're doing work too. Buddy, you are driving the ship. Okay. So let's get a little more insight into Roki Sasaki's meetings thus far with MLB clubs. Sasaki has set ground rules that all meetings with MLB clubs would take place in Wolf's Southern California office, last no more than 2 hours, and that only team officials, managers, GMs, pitching coaches, biomechanic, and training staff could attend. Wow, very interesting. The thing that really stands out to me, what is most interesting is only 2 hours. Only 2 hours, folks. I don't care who you are. No more than 2 hours. That is quite interesting to me. Also, too, he only wants pertinent players. I don't think he wants a dog and pony show. Former players. Nope. Unless you're a GM or a manager, bye bye. And of course, no ex players or or actually current players for that matter. So one of Sasaki's pitching idols is former Yankee Masahiro Tanaka and Mets starter Kodai Senga, who is a current Wolf client. Sasaki wanted to make sure everything was fair and that there was a level playing field, adding that Sasaki gave each team he met with a homework assignment on how they plan to analyze and communicate information. Wow, interesting. I like that. I like that because when you go on a job interview, it's always that last, couple minutes where they ask you, "You have any questions for us? Is there any questions?" And and that's always a crucial time because I'm pretty sure most hiring managers are like, you know, I'm pretty sure there are certain questions that would kind of turn off. Like if you start telling the prospective hiring person, "Oh, start doing work for me," or start giving me a list or this and that. I mean, this is kind of like bold. I like this. This is very bold from Sasaki. Tell me how you plan to analyze and communicate information. That tells me that in the past that has been a troubling point. So I like that. And in Wolf Goes, he knows he's not a finished product. He wants to be one of the greatest ever, ever. He wants to challenge himself. And I like that. I like that. The fact that he has that attitude and that mindset tells me that, going to a team like the Dodgers isn't challenging himself, folks. Isn't challenging himself. Going to the Yankees, who have 27 World Series, isn't challenging himself. Going to a team like the New York Mets, who has only 2 championships, is challenging himself. So I like a guy with that type of mindset. Okay, so where might Sasaki land? During the MLB winter meetings earlier this month, um, Wolf mentioned that sometimes Sasaki received some media attention at home and that things didn't go well. So he might be willing or he might want to go rather to a smaller market. That might have its appeal. But that was also negated later on. But also, too, if you have a big brother in the Yankees and then you have a lesser, not lesser team, but a younger team, we'll say in the New York Mets, I think that's also another benefit to the New York Mets. So then it was also asked, does it matter if the team has Japanese players or not? At first, in the beginning, it was thought that he would prefer, and I still think his initial thoughts are accurate. Josh Wolf has basically said, no, it doesn't matter. But I think it always going to make it easier if you have a fellow countryman, especially an established guy like Kodai Senga. Overall, Sasaki has a more long term global view of things. He's a very interested in pitching development and how a team is going to help him get better in the future and throughout the course of his career. And I think, folks, that is super significant because what we know and what we've heard about the pitching lab and about how Stearns approaches things, Roki Sasaki, it will be heaven. Heaven to Roki Sasaki. And, in terms of, we have something special and unique. You hear pitching lab and you think that many teams are duplicating this. No, it is a proprietary pitching lab, pitching process. This is proprietary, folks. David Stearns implemented this in Milwaukee, and it was actually, and I repeated this story a couple weeks ago, but I'll tell it again. Executives were walking around, the facilities, and they wanted to find out what this pitching lab was all about. David Stearns said, "No, you're not coming in here. You do not get to watch. This is just private." So this is something that Sasaki in his camp, and he's already complimented Hefner. Hefner. So this is really good. This is really good for us. All right, folks. All right. Let me know. What do you think about Sasaki? I got a lot of questions for you. What do you think about Boras? Is Boras in? Did he anticipate this? Does he feel like things are going to plan, or is he in a bit of a panic state? Like, you hear now, you hear. Okay, and I'm going to say this right now: the New York Mets are going to make multiple big moves. Multiple big moves. We got Juan Soto. We got Sean Manaea, right? Sean Manaea was our biggest move after Juan Soto, right? The biggest move. Juan Soto selling it to Juan Soto, saying pedal to the metal. Juan Soto interpreting that we're building a dynasty. It wasn't just because we're getting Sean Manaea. We are going to make big moves. Mark my word. Alex Bregman, it's making a lot of sense lately. It is making a lot of sense. I can see Alex Bregman a 4-year contract. I could see a Pete Alonso signing that 3-year contract. Maybe an option for the fourth if you want to make it incentive laden. I don't like to just give things away if the market doesn't dictate it. Or you go the Vladimir Guerrero route. That was our last video. And I had some interesting feedback. Some people say that Vladimir is not getting traded no matter what. No matter what. And Vladimir is not going to sign until next year. My thing is this, and what I said about Guerrero signing being imminent is he wants to take advantage of this hot Juan Soto market. Juan Soto has uplifted this market in such a big way, and his value. Everybody started talking about Kyle Tucker and Vladimir Guerrero, their contract value. Now, Guerrero is coming off a very great hitting season. Average 323, 30 home runs, over 100 RBIs, great on base, great slug. I mean, Vladimir Guerrero has been a little shaky in his career. He really has been a little shaky. Now, this season, this offseason, you have Juan Soto coming, signing that great contract. So you have the hot market. And then this year, you have Guerrero coming off of a magical season. Not his best, but a great season. So you risk many things by not signing this offseason. Guerrero can have a bad year. Guerrero God willing, could get hurt. I mean, God willing, I hopefully doesn't get hurt. But that could happen. Next year's market could be not nearly as good as this year's market. All of a sudden, remember years ago, it seemed like teams were colluding. You just never know. From every given year, you never know. That's why I surmise that Guerrero said, "Hey, spring training, give me the offer, or you have up until spring training to match, or not match, but to meet my offer price. Then trade me. So I surmise he wants to be traded before the season, just so he can sign with another team, sign with another team. So I mean, the ideal situation is you can get Guerrero in tow if the Alonso thing does not work out. If it doesn't work out, and then you have Bregman. I like that. I like that. Bregman, you got Guerrero, you got Soto. I mean, that's a murderer's row in the middle of the lineup. And these guys, these hitters, these guys will be insanely hard to get out for the opposing pitcher. Insanely hard to get out. And if we could somehow get a Sasaki, I mean, oh my God. And relief pitchers, I know there's some relief pitchers out there, and some of you have been asking about that. Relief pitchers historically, especially in the last couple of years, have always signed late. So those are my thoughts. As always, again, like and subscribe. It really helps out. I always want to thank the new members of the channel. You guys are legends. You know who you are. Want to make sure I got everything. So it's New Year's Eve. It's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. We always love these late night videos. So, probably do a couple more videos in the next couple of days. So hit the alert button. Another thing, I'm hearing some of our YouTube, I'm hearing a lot of comments getting deleted. I apologize about that. I'm not doing it. I've deleted like 2 or 3 comments in the last 2 years. So I rarely delete a comment. YouTube sometimes deletes it, but I have some comments, like, even my wife put a comment the other day. I think she said good video, and that got deleted. So I mean, keep trying. You can always contact me on X at Dominant Mets. Let me know. I just want you to know, I never delete comments. Never. I try to answer, and every comment, every person who takes the time to respond, I really appreciate that. And again, even if we disagree, that's part of the beauty of it. That's part of the fun. I love to hear different perspectives. So I will speak to everyone soon. Again, Happy New Year. And let's go Mets.